to belong.
The most beautiful part about her was Antoinetta always loved God.
Thank you, Jesus.
She thinks a mesmerizing self-proclaimed prophet is her salvation.
He used that religion and as a fly trap to lure her in.
But he is not what he seems.
He has an agenda, and that agenda is power, control, lust.
He wanted to have sex on demand. He got it. He created a kind of world within the world, the final and absolute authority.
When Antoinetta blindly follows his path, her devotion turns deadly.
That's just one thing in this world that people ain't supposed to see. It was devastating.
He led her straight to hell.
February 28th, 2011, Durham, North Carolina. Police surveillance video records a shocking testimony from a frightened, pregnant 16-year-old girl.
He beats us.
The young lady made a complaint alleging that she was part of a cult and that she had escaped.
The young woman describes fleeing a house of horrors.
He makes us have sex with each other.
She said there were multiple women with multiple children living in this house, and told the story about being beaten.
He makes sure we all have babies for him.
I think the abuse on her increased to the point where she thought her life was in danger.
And she says, for some people, it is already too late.
You just have to arrest him, please, or else I'm gonna be next.
Antoinette was always very caring, very loving. Antoinette had a big smile and it would light up the room.
Anybody would want to be around Antoinette because she saw more good in you than she did bad.
In the 1980s, Antoinetta McCoy, nicknamed Netta, grows up in the housing projects of Washington, D.C., with her two siblings and single mother.
Netta was a caretaker. She cared beyond what I could explain for anyone. It wasn't just me, it wasn't just my mother, it wasn't just my sister, anyone.
A childhood in this concrete jungle can be tough. Most of the kids in Netta's neighborhood cultivate a streetwise swagger that Netta seems to lack.
She was never like that. This is the type of girl who never disrespects anyone, who doesn't use profanity, who doesn't listen to rap music, who would give you the shirt off her back.
But Netta is also extremely shy. On the boisterous streets of the D.C. projects, that makes her stand out, and not in a good way.
So she was picked on because she was different. Maybe self-esteem issues set in.
But I always let her know, you fit in, baby. You belong.
But in truth, Netta is an outsider and doesn't have many friends.
Life was tough. We lived in the hood, but we had each other. We were very close-knit.
Aside from her family, Netta's closest companion is God. As a teenager, Netta is happiest when she is at church, where she can feel accepted and loved.
She looked to her Bible for everything. So she developed a personal one-on-one relationship with God.
Her Bible was her best friend.
She spends a lot of time alone, reading scripture and listening to gospel music.
She would be in her room for hours, just to herself.
Netta keeps a diary of her private thoughts. More than anything, she hopes for a God-fearing man to love and a family to raise.
She wanted pretty much to save herself for the right person, to find a soulmate.
Her biggest thing was to be a mom.
But one day at a doctor's visit, those dreams suffer a serious blow.
You're not going to be able to have kids.
Antoinetta didn't have the ability to have children. I think it was very emotional and sad for her.
As with everything in her life, Netta turns to religion to get her through this dark time. With prayer, she has faith that she will find a man who loves her and that she will have a family somehow.
She was trying to find peace.
But by 26, Netta is still single and living with her mother. She spends a lot of time on Facebook. And one fateful day, in the summer of 2010, she receives a friend request that changes everything. Peter Moses Jr., an old high school crush, wants to reconnect with Netta.
She seen something in him that struck an interest to her.
She has never forgotten her schoolgirl feelings for Peter. She's also not forgotten how her mother never approved of him.
It was just something that just didn't sit well with me about him, period.
Netta and Peter begin chatting regularly. She learns that in the 12 years since high school, Peter left Washington, D.C., and now lives in Durham, North Carolina. Peter is a preacher, which makes him even more attractive to Netta.
She told me from the beginning that, oh, Mom, he's deep into the religion.
She learns he has successfully built his own online congregation with thousands of followers.
Pete Moses, he had a big presence online. There were multiple videos that he had posted where he would be giving, I guess, sermons.
When you look around you, it's all vanity. It's emptiness. I don't know it all. I don't claim to know it all. But I know enough to know right from wrong.
Netta is thrilled that the charismatic boy she once knew seems to have grown into a man of substance.
She was happy to be noticed by someone who was similar to her, who tried to align their life with the will of God.
Soon the chats blossom into a romantic relationship.
And then they started texting and calling each other, and they started like going out and dating.
Netta is overjoyed to finally be part of a couple, even if it is a long-distance relationship.
Oh, she was so happy how he was treating her so good and made her feel like she was on top of the world.
One day, the two decide to take things to the next level. Peter invites Netta to meet for a romantic weekend.
It's so beautiful out here.
The couple talks for hours about scripture.
We're God's chosen people.
And Netta finds Peter's common devotion to God intoxicating. As the days go by, Netta falls hard. For the first time she can remember, she feels complete.
She talked about wonderful times, the laughter, the joy.
Netta feels she is finally on the right path with Peter. After dating long distance for a few months, in August 2010, Peter asks her to move to Durham permanently.
She told me that Pete and her were planning to get married, that they were supposed to be engaged.
Netta's mom worries that everything is happening too fast.
I said, if it don't work out, you can always come on back home.
But Netta doesn't share her mother's fears and leaves Washington, D.C. behind for the life she's always dreamed of. Excited about a fresh start, Netta arrives at Peter's home in Durham and is impressed right away. He lives in a big house, but he doesn't seem to live there alone.
Why do you have so many shoes?
Oh, it's just my aunts, my cousins. They're just staying here for a little while.
Peter explains he is simply helping some family members get back on their feet. As Netta unpacks in the master bedroom, she is overjoyed.
Netta thought this would be a new beginning.
But one of Peter's aunts, a woman named LaRonda, gives Netta some odd news.
No need to unpack.
Given Peter's devout religious beliefs, she says he and Netta will sleep separately, for now.
I don't understand. Come on, I'll show you where you stand.
LaRonda leads Netta down the hall to a small bedroom, already filled with belongings. This is where she will bunk with two of Peter's aunts.
It was a big house, but it didn't have enough bedrooms for all the women.
Netta is confused, but Peter reassures her that this is the way God would want it.
She wasn't happy about that, but she trusted him.
Amen.
Later that day, Netta joins Peter and his family in their daily routine of group prayer. She listens carefully to the man she loves, delivering the Lord's word.
We are the chosen ones. Why is there so much?
But as his sermon goes on, Peter reveals a surprising detail about his beliefs.
You see, now is the time.
Peter Moses claimed to be a prophet with the black Hebrew Israelites.
We ain't going back to the corner.
It's an African-American denomination with 50,000 followers worldwide, but Netta doesn't know anything about the religion.
The Black Israelites are a racial identity movement that claims that they are the supreme race, that they are the chosen people of God.
It is God's law. It is what the chosen people are here to do.
Netta realizes Peter's interpretation of Scripture is much different than hers. It mixes traditional Jewish observance with talk of a black Jesus Christ and the apocalypse that is coming.
God, we come before you as your chosen people.
This world is coming to an end. We need to join the Israelites. Get with God, get with Jesus Christ. They will be the rulers of the world. It sounds good because, as you know, he's very charismatic.
Netta is a bit unsettled by this new gospel.
Antoinetta was very grounded in her religion. He used that as kind of a, his fly trap, if you will, to lure her in.
But Peter is mesmerizing as he plays on her piety and fear of God.
It is what the chosen people are here to do.
Netta keeps an open mind and settles into her new home. But she will discover too late that her choice has landed her in a house full of suffering.
These are not my arms.
She was unaware of what she was really getting into.
My daughter got mixed up with a man who wanted to control the world.
Netta McCoy has uprooted her life to be with her new boyfriend, Peter Moses Jr.
She said, I just want a fresh start. I just want a fresh start.
After moving into his house, Netta learns that Peter isn't exactly who she thought he was.
Peter was preaching black Hebrew Israelite doctrine. This world is coming to an end, that you need to get with God, get with Jesus Christ.
Come, let us pray.
And soon Netta learns he's been keeping other secrets from her.
These are not my aunts.
The people he claimed were his aunts are actually his wives.
All of them?
And all but one of the cousins are his children.
Netta thought that it sounded so bizarre and out of this world.
Well, you're not allowed to marry more than one woman anywhere in the United States.
Netta is shocked, but Peter explains that in their religion, being a polygamist family is obeying God's commandments.
Some of the black Hebrew Israelite groups subscribe to polygamy.
Polygamy is significant and imperative.
The more wives Peter acquires,
we must multiply.
The more children he can produce. And more children will bring the black Israelites closer to their ultimate goal.
The concept of having more than one wife is to be a nation.
And Peter Moses is trying to build that nation. Vanya Sisk is Peter's first wife. LaRonda Smith is wife number 2. Wife number 3 is Lavada Harris. And Zena Thomas makes 4. Now he wants Netta to join his family.
Now you. I would like you to be my 5th wife.
To Netta, it seems like an immoral proposal. But Peter reframes it in the purest way possible.
Peter Moses gave Netta McCoy a sense that they were serving God in a unique way.
If you really love God, you keep his commandments. This is your purpose. This is why God created you.
Peter also plays on her insecurities.
Why me?
Because you're special.
In this new family, he tells Netta she will gain the love and understanding she's always yearned for.
And we respect the true commandments.
He promised her heaven and earth. He's not going to want for nothing.
Peter Moses he's textbook manipulator. Textbook.
Netta's love for Peter and God overtakes rational thinking. She is powerless in the face of his persuasion and accepts Peter's hand in marriage.
She cared deeply about Pete. Antoinetta was a vulnerable young girl that felt like maybe this was going to be her opportunity.
She thinks, even if it is unconventional, she's found her place. Here she has friends, children, and a husband to love.
All she wanted him to do was embrace her and love her.
As Netta settles into a polygamous lifestyle, she begins to enjoy spending time with her sister wives.
If you are lonely, the group offers you solace and a sense of community. If you had low self-esteem, the group builds you up.
She was just happy to have some friends.
Those relationships were important to Netta McCoy.
We're all sisters. We look out for each other.
But there is a hierarchy of sister wives she must deal with.
Vania was his main woman. Probably cared for Vania more than any other women in the house.
Netta is the rookie, at the bottom of the pecking order. But all the women, no matter their number, are subservient to Peter.
I'm gonna go check on the kids. Okay.
While Netta is busy in the kitchen one day, Vania's cell phone vibrates on the counter. And when Netta sees the caller ID, she gets another lesson about how this house runs.
They had Lord with Peter Moses' phone. That's how they referred to this man.
When Antoinetta told me, I said, Lord of what? Lord of who? Girl, get out of here. You playing, aren't you? She says, no, the women in it call him Lord.
Still, Peter's love and attention erase the doubts Netta has. He makes sure his newest wife feels loved and part of the family. And Peter quickly becomes her everything.
He was father, he was husband, he was lover, he was leader, he was Lord.
And soon enough, Netta begins to call him Lord like the other wives do.
There's a kind of spoon feeding of indoctrination. They take a series of baby steps into the bubble. And once they're in the bubble, what the leader says is right.
As the newest wife, Netta's role is homeschooling the children.
So like Hot Wheels? Oh, let's have fun.
Antoinetta's biggest dream was to just be a phenomenal mom.
Netta has never revealed her infertility to Peter. She finds the job of teacher especially rewarding and hopes that perhaps Peter will not care if she cannot add a child to the group. She develops a special bond with one little boy, Vania's son, Jaden.
Jaden was a really, really happy baby. He actually had his own personality that was just, you know, warm, and everybody loved him.
4-year-old Jaden is the only child in the house not fathered by Peter Moses. Jaden's father left Vania when he came out as homosexual. Peter is convinced the sins of the father have tainted Jaden.
I told you what that boy was like. Didn't I tell you?
Black Israelites has been called homophobic. They are very against the gay community.
Peter constantly singles Jaden out for extra punishment, triggering Netta's protective instincts.
She loved this little boy, and she would go out her way to make sure that he was happy.
In addition to teaching the children, Netta's days are filled with household chores, hours of group prayer, and unquestioning obedience. Her nights are spent as one of Peter's 5 sexual partners.
They had sex with him multiple times a day.
It was a rotation. You know, on certain nights it would be their turn. If you look at the children's dates of birth, they were staggered like 3 or 4 months apart.
In the bubble, there was no limit to his power. And so as time went on, he craved more and more control, more and more power, and so it just kept escalating.
What's that?
Peter expects his wives to get pregnant as often as possible. But Netta knows that's very unlikely. And the more time she spends in the house, the more her secret infertility weighs on her. If Peter finds out, there's no telling what he will do.
Women are made to be ruled over by men.
Each day, Peter posts a provocative new sermon on YouTube. But his Israelite preaching grows strange.
according to their doctrine, what we call as UFOs, the spaceships of the angels. And when Jesus Christ comes back, he's going to come back with a bunch of angels, and they're going to destroy America in 60 minutes.
A lot of you hate order. You hate instruction. And that's why the Lord's going to kill a lot of you.
Peter becomes increasingly militant, and his views more racist.
Many of the black Israelite groups have developed a kind of sense that we are embattled, we are persecuted, that other races are to be feared, even despised.
Why is the white man so rich and powerful?
They believe that one day the blacks is going to go overthrow the white man.
Now is the time when the war must start.
That is the doctrine, the race wars. Like, these guys, they take that to heart.
We must take them out.
These are not the teachings of the loving and tolerant God that Netta knows so well. But she is now a part of this life, completely under Peter's control and powerless to change.
She thought her life was in danger.
It's like a nightmare.
27-year-old Netta McCoy is living a dangerous lie. She is an infertile wife in a polygamist household, where each woman is expected to help populate a nation of true believers.
The only way you can fulfill that prophecy to be a nation is by having more than one wife. If you have 5 wives, you can have 5 children in 1 year.
But her situation only worsens when Peter takes his sexual appetite to another level. Peter commands Netta and her sister wives to perform sexually with each other while he watches.
They have an agenda. That agenda is power. That agenda is control. That agenda is lust.
Pete would have used, all in the name of God to convince the women that this was the right thing to do.
He cites biblical passages to coerce Netta and her sister wives to bend to his sexual will.
You be obedient and do what God tells you to do, or you get ostracized for it.
There was no limit to his power.
For Netta, her blind love for Peter makes everything okay. But soon the relationships at the house start to sour.
What you looking at?
The sweet and caring man Netta fell in love with reveals himself as a tyrant.
Get back to work, woman.
And her relationships with her sister wives deteriorate.
In that environment where there's about 4 or 5 wives, and it's easy to feel neglected. It's easy to feel unwanted.
But soon, Netta finds herself dealing with much bigger problems. Peter needs to build his nation, and even though they've only been together for a short time, he is impatient with Netta's failure to conceive a child.
Don't waste time.
I feel like it.
She begins withholding sex from him to try and conceal her secret. But one horrific night in October 2010,
No, Peter, please.
Peter's patience runs out.
No. Please, no. Peter, no.
Pete wanted to sleep with her. She didn't want to. And he sexually attacked her.
He said he had knocked her tooth loose.
He had put a gun to her head.
You're supposed to serve your man.
He pulled the trigger, but the bullets didn't come out.
And he told her the only reason why he's not going to kill her is because God has a calling on her life.
Looks like God has a plan for you.
The abuse on her increased to the point where she thought her life was in danger.
Netta has spent weeks trying to tune out what she felt in her heart. This isn't her family. This is a cult. Now, the reality hits her like a lightning bolt. She must get away. But how? The next day, while the other wives are at work and Peter is in the shower, Netta makes her escape.
That's when Netta called me and she was crying. And I said, what's wrong? I couldn't make out what she was saying.
I've got to get out of here.
Netta arrives safely back in D.C. and her nightmare finally feels over. She comes home to live with her family, but doesn't tell them why she left Peter. It's only days later when her family learns the truth. At her childhood church, Netta unburdens her heart in front of them.
She got up and they call it testifying. She thanked the Lord that she was still here.
I want to thank God because I am so lucky to be alive.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you.
I was living with this man. He wanted me to have sex with him all the time.
Netta stumbled across a cult. My sister was held captive and abused.
But I didn't want to be a part of that man's plan anymore.
She tried to get away from it.
I asked her to go and report it, but she was too scared of him to do it.
Netta hunkers down in her mother's D.C. apartment, insisting to her worried family she will not return to Durham. But inside, she struggles with her decision.
Not only did Netta McCoy fear Peter Moses and what he might physically do to her, she feared the wrath of God. He would explain, if you leave the group, you leave God. If you disagree with me, you're disagreeing with God.
Even hundreds of miles away, Peter's power still has its reach.
She did not sort through what is coercive persuasion, what is brainwashing.
Back in Durham, Peter is not about to let his newest disciple defect so easily.
There must have been palpable fear going through Peter Moses' mind when Netta left. I mean, she knew his secrets.
That's when he started manipulating her and rearing her back in.
Hello? Hey, Netta.
By lying, telling her that she was going to be #1.
Netta, listen, things will be different this time.
He would never touch her or hurt her again.
I don't think I can trust you.
Listen, just come back.
Pete probably felt as though she can be manipulated, she can be brainwashed, she can be used, because she could. And he played on that.
For a while, Netta stands her ground. But when Peter's apologies fail to move her, he tries a different tactic.
Whatever he had to do to bring her back, he was willing to escalate and escalate and escalate further.
Peter threatens violence against Netta's loved ones if she does not return.
If you don't get back here, I'm gonna come for your family.
She shared enough with me to let me know that he was dangerous.
The threats are ominous, and Netta's already shaky self-esteem starts to fall apart.
There was actually writings where she would write to Pete and say, I'm sorry that I haven't lived up to your standard.
It's a combination of fear and insecurity that slowly drives Netta back into Peter's world. Just before Thanksgiving, Peter and Vania drive up to D.C. to collect Netta. She feels a twisted sense of comfort when they arrive. But her family has a bad feeling.
I told her he wasn't no good.
I'll be in touch.
But, you know, she was grown.
It's a decision that will change her life forever. Netta returns to Peter's house, hoping for the best.
When cult members like Netta McCoy return to the group, there may be a sense of relief because this is the life they know.
She takes some comfort in knowing she will reunite with little Jaden.
Jaden! Jaden, Auntie Netta's home!
But when she runs upstairs to the bedroom shared by all the kids, Jaden is nowhere to be found. And when Netta goes looking for answers, she finds out the secrets being kept in Peter's house will take her straight to hell.
No one knew this demon could be so vengeful.
He got me! Jaden, Auntie Netta's home!
When Netta McCoy is drawn back into Peter Moses' cult in early December of 2010, she discovers that 4-year-old Jaden, sister wife Vania's son from a previous marriage, is missing. Netta is worried, but no one else seems to care.
Where is he?
Not even his mother.
I have my own problems.
Vania tells Netta a babysitter is watching Jaden. But one night, Netta overhears a story that makes her heart stand still.
You made me be with him. That's what he did to Jaden. He made us clean up afterwards.
Three weeks later, back in Washington, D.C., Netta's family is concerned.
I can feel it deep in my soul. Something's just not right.
They haven't heard from Netta since she left to go back to Durham with Peter.
It wasn't like her to go and stay weeks at a time and I don't hear from her. So this threw flags up.
The weeks turn into months. Christmas comes and goes, but no word from Netta.
Like, you know, it's Christmas past, what? New Year's came and I ain't hear nothing from her. Yeah, I'm feeling that in my spirit that something is wrong.
Finally, Netta's sister Janaea calls Peter directly.
I said to him, where was my sister? And that's when he was like, oh, she okay, she at work.
Well, I don't know why she hasn't called you.
Shortly after, the family starts receiving texts from Netta again. But their relief quickly turns to doubt.
She would always tell me at the end of a conversation or text, Ma, I love you. But they never said at the end of the text, Ma, I love you.
And then after that, he cut the phone off, like as in turn the service off.
February 28th, 2011. It's been over 2 months since anyone has seen Netta McCoy. Then, Zana, the youngest of Peter's captive wives, alerts police to the horrors going on in her home.
He was at the point where she was done with him. She wanted Peter Moses to be held accountable.
You have to go get him.
She tells a tale of beatings, sexual abuse, polygamy, and something much, much worse. Police pay a visit to Peter Moses' house. Records indicate 9 children live in the residence, but they only find 8 kids.
Where's Jaden?
When they question Vania about Jaden, she claims a babysitter took charge of him months ago.
She gave us a name, and it might as well have been Santa Claus. That person did not exist.
But police discover there is someone else missing. Nobody in the house can explain what happened to Netta McCoy either.
You know, I'm not quite sure.
Armed with a warrant, police search for forensic evidence inside Peter Moses' home.
We found blood on the bathroom floor, we found blood on the garage floor, and we found a cartridge case in the garage.
Further investigation turns up a bullet lodged in the bathroom wall. And most chilling, Jaden's baby keepsake book is found abandoned in the trash.
It contained all the pictures from the time his mother was pregnant, his newborn pictures, his little feet prints.
It seems to back up Zana's story that terrible things have happened in the house. But there is no proof that either Jaden or Netta is dead. Police have nowhere to go with their investigation. Over 3 months later, sanitation workers in Durham are investigating the source of a foul odor when they make a ghastly discovery.
We noticed something very curious in the backyard, buried in a plastic bag.
God gave me a dream. I saw a room, a big empty hole, and I hollered, no!
June 8th, 2011. 2 sanitation workers are looking for the source of a putrid smell when they make a gruesome discovery.
We noticed something very curious in the backyard, buried in a plastic bag.
Crime scene investigators discover the remains of an adult female, matching the description of Netta McCoy. It only confirms what Netta's mother knew in her heart.
God gave me a dream. In my dream, I saw her. She was not breathing. I saw a womb, and I hollered, no!
And I thought, who could possibly think of some things like this to do to someone? Who could do that? It's horrific. That's pure evil.
The next day, investigators unearth another body, only 10 feet away. A small male child matching the description of little Jaden Higginbotham.
Here I am just thinking that it's going to be a matter of time before I get to see my son again on a normal basis, and then all of a sudden I get this call.
Now that they have the bodies, police can piece together the forensic evidence, which all points indisputably to Peter Moses.
As a detective, you're putting a mosaic together very carefully in detail. And that's what this case was about.
They predict the sister wives will finally stop protecting Peter Moses, but their loyalty is astonishing.
Usually if one person knows, someone's going to tell it. And we had a case where 3 of the women just keep it all inside just to protect him.
Peter Moses is arrested and charged with 2 counts of homicide, but he's not about to go down alone.
In the end, Peter Moses told us what happened. He was the one who verified Xenia's unrealistic story, and Peter was the one that broke.
I didn't do it alone.
With Peter's confession, investigators are able to piece together a complete picture of the last tragic hours of Jaden Higginbotham and Netta McCoy. It's a sunny morning in Durham in October 2010. Netta McCoy has fled and is living back in D.C. 4-year-old Jaden and the other kids are playfully roughhousing when sister wife LaRonda witnesses something that disturbs her deeply.
Her son was in the bedroom with Jaden, and Jaden was displaying some type of behavior that she felt was homosexual, touching him on his bottom, something of that nature.
Jaden!
In Peter's rigid world, there is no such thing as innocent play.
The boundaries of reality is determined by the leader. What the leader says is real is real.
LaRonda reports the incident to Peter.
That boy was acting all gay with my son.
What?
Who responds with fury.
I'll take care of him.
He's becoming enraged and back and forth, pacing, contemplating what he was going to do.
I knew it all the time. I told your mother.
He drugged the kid into the garage, has him sit down on the garage floor.
As Jaden sits on the cold concrete floor, Peter cranks up the volume on the Lord's Prayer in Hebrew.
He turned up the music.
Watch.
Then Peter does the unthinkable.
And shoots him in the back of the head.
That ain't no man to take the life of a child. I mean, I really don't want to even describe him as a man.
After shooting the boy, he orders Lavada and LaRonda to clean up the mess.
Shooting a child but not thinking 2 things about it and say, you know, can you clean that up? I mean, I would say that's pretty significant control.
They wrap the body and stash it in a suitcase in the attic. Meanwhile, Peter beckons Jaden's mom, Vania, to his room.
How does a mother close her eyes at night and sleep, knowing that your seed that you carried for 9 months died at the hand of someone that you're in love with, and it's rotting over top of your head?
Later, Peter and Vania bury Jaden's body in Peter's mother's backyard.
It was just unbelievable that a mother of a child would allow someone to murder their child, 1, and then 2, help to cover it up.
His control was so total over the women that he could have asked them to do anything.
When Netta returns to Durham a month later and notices Jaden's absence from the home, she is immediately suspicious. And one night, her greatest fear is confirmed when she overhears 2 of her sister wives whispering about Jaden's murder.
The realization that Peter Moses had murdered a child sparked her critical thinking.
She bolts out the front door, dressed only in her nightgown on a cold winter night. But Peter realizes she is gone.
Hey! Go up there! Hurry up!
He basically tells the women, you better go get her or I'm going to jail.
Netta desperately tries to get help.
Somebody please! Help me, please!
One of the witnesses says Peter was out there.
Get her now!
But he was basically directing her being forced back into the house.
Once they have Netta inside, Peter assaults her while the other wives watch.
They felt like this was all going to come down on them if she were to get away.
She was asking God to help her and for them to please not kill her and begging for her life.
Then, the people she once called family cast a vote to determine her fate.
It was a hands up or hands down vote of whether she lived or died. It was unanimous.
Go and get my computer and my speakers and take it to the bathroom.
Netta cowers on the bathroom floor. Once again, the Lord's Prayer is blasted in Hebrew.
This is your opportunity to satisfy God.
Peter hands Vania the same .22 caliber gun he used to kill Jaden. And in the ultimate act of deadly devotion, Vania pulls the trigger.
I didn't do it alone. They agreed on this.
Peter Moses' confession implicates his wives as accomplices in both the murders of Jaden and Netta.
But whatever their belief was, it was strong enough for them to stay with him and to cover it up. I mean, and some of them to this day have taken it with them to prison, probably for the rest of their life.
Peter Moses pleads guilty to first-degree murder in both cases and receives 2 consecutive life sentences. The sister wives are convicted of second-degree murder, kidnapping, and conspiracy, and receive sentences ranging from 16 years for Levada to almost 40 years for Vania Sisk.
Netta thought that this would be a second chance. It turned out to be the end for her.
He took something dear, precious from me. But if she were here right now, I would want to tell her that how proud I am of her, how beautiful of a person that she grew up to be. And I would want her to know that she will always be remembered